sharing our thoughts from the Torah portion this week, which came from Genesis 44:18 through 47:27. We're at a place where Judah and his brothers are leaving, and Joseph has ordered that a silver cup be put in Benjamin's sack. And he sent his messenger out to stop them, and they find the silver cup, and now they have to come back. But anyways, from the portion, just several different things that stood out to me. And one thing that the Lord had said is that deliverance is not the end of the story. Once you get delivered or once you're brought out, that's not the end. It is the beginning of our obedience. And so when they come into Egypt, and his father and his brothers and their family are there, he brings them to Goshen. And I'm like, Lord, why Goshen? And he's saying, look up that word. So I'm looking up Goshen, and it means drawing near. And that's funny because the whole title of the Torah portion is to draw near, or it starts out when he drew near. And you see several aspects. When Joseph draws near to his brothers, when Judah approaches them, when they have to come back to Joseph to explain how the silver cup got there, when he brings them to a land of drawing near in Goshen, that stood out. So when you look at the Hebrew, you have a numerical value, and then you have how you're breaking it down literally in the Hebrew language. Well, the numerical value is 353. And then you break that down to the nominative value, or the smallest value that you can take it to, and it's 2. And we know that 2 represents bet or vet. So even in bringing them to Goshen, he's bringing them to a place. And it's just a little bit closer to bringing him to the house, to his house. Bet or vet all represents house. It represents power or force. My husband had talked about when you looked at Bereshit in the beginning, it doesn't start with Aleph because Aleph is silent. It starts with the bet, Bereshit, but even in that, you still see the Father. Yeah, and my husband had mentioned, like, even in the dream, when the Lord visits Jacob, he's telling them, I'm going to be with when you go down to Egypt. I'm going to be with you there. So in the aspect of drawing near, the Lord looked up some verses. I looked up some verses in Psalm 69:18, Psalm 73:28, James 4:8. Hebrews 10:22, and then one I want to read is Isaiah 29:13. Starting at verse 13, it says, Therefore the Lord said, Inasmuch as these people draw near with their mouths and honor me with their lips, but have removed their hearts far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the commandment of men. Therefore, behold, I will again do a marvelous work among this people, a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hidden. So it talks about honoring me, your mouths and your lips, but your heart is not there. And we see over and over again that our hearts have to be circumcised. Our hearts have to be circumcised. So, we're getting to the place where the Israelites or the Hebrews are in Goshen, and they're drawing near. There's going to be a place where here they're going to cry out. And it's going to be a place where there's light found in Goshen and there's darkness everywhere else. So that's what I pulled from this today. With the bet and the vet, with Goshen drawing near, leading you to the house, that Jesus is the master of the house, and that we are to honor our Father. So that's all I wanted to share.
The Vayigash is how this section of the Torah starts out in Genesis 44:18, the Vayigash. And this, we're looking at Yahudah or Judah stepping forth, and just kind of going over that, kind of like my wife said, we were looking at the same passages and just kind of read them separately and just kind of saw what we could glean out of it, and just kind of wanted to put our thoughts or put these little nuggets together for y'all. But when let me see. So as Judah approached him, he's approaching Joseph. He doesn't realize that Joseph is the viceroy or the second in command in Egypt. So he's approaching him like someone would approach a king. So the first thing, or one of the things that kind of stuck out about was with Judah was that how he drew near to him, and it made me think of having a broken heart and a contrite spirit. So because obviously this is Joseph, so this is the same of his brethren who they plotted against. We understand, when you say, hey, somebody hating on me, or if you were 80s baby, you remember the 90s, we would say that phrase, hey, you got some animal with me, got some on your chest and all that. So Joseph is looking at them, and Joseph is evaluating whether or not his brothers do they care? I mean, are they wicked or are they righteous? So this is the king looking at the people. Then you have Judah or Yehuda Vayigash drawing near to the king, and he's seeing the humbleness, he's seeing the contriteness, the brokenness of him when he's explaining, hey man, if our little brother, man, if he got to stay here and we go back to our father and tell him what happened, man, he gonna die. And that depravity that we all gotta, I mean, this is how we should be. We should be broken down when it comes to the Messiah. But your heart is, the harder it is for you to be broken, and to be broken like the alabaster box that's mentioned in the Gospels. So anyway, so once that happened, we see that Joseph reveals himself, right? So so Mashiach is revealed to us when we completely break down, right? I mean, I got to be completely, like, it's not a game. It's not a hustle for me. It's not a game for me. There's not something I can gain. We have a lot of people in ministry or movement or whatever, because there's a gain, there's a profit, there's something, hey, if I do this, I can get this out of it. And that's not the case. Actually, Yehuda said, hey, I'll be a slave. Let the boy go. So once he breaks down, once he's truly open, that's when Joseph or the king reveals himself. So we want to be a people that draws near to him, to where the Messiah will reveal himself. I think it's John 6:44, where the Most High himself, he draws us to the Mashiach. But in verse 4, chapter 45, Joseph cries out. He says, "Hey, I'm your brother, Joseph, the ones that y'all did evil for, but the Most High meant it for good, for me to go ahead of y'all because of this famine so bad." So that was kind of stuck out to me about the brokenness of Judah, and I just started having a broken heart and a contrite spirit. Something else in that section, which I thought my wife had a good verse in Isaiah 29:13, about there are a lot of people who falsify with their lips or falsify with a certain look, but on the inside, their heart is not really right. And as we get deeper and deeper in these end times, your heart got to be right. And that our king is also a judge, who's also a high priest, a heavenly high priest. So there's no getting over. Right? There's no trying to hustle, or you can fool other people that are humans, but you can't fool him who is spirit. So another thing with Judah, or with Yehuda, as they were coming down into Egypt, Judah leads or breaks the charge, and kind of goes and prepares the way for them as they're coming into Egypt. So it just kind of made me think about the Yahudim. It made me think about what Apostle Paul or Shaul says, that salvation is of the Yahudim. So we know that Yahshua, Christ, is of the tribe of Judah, but the brethren who are of the. So salvation is of the Yahudim. So will the real Jews please stand up? And in modern day America, you got a lot of people who are Jews or of the Yehudim, of the tribe of Judah, and they don't have a clue who they are. Hint, hint. Okay, lost without an identity until now. God's restoration of the slave descendants. Check that book out. Those are the things that stuck out in the Torah, in Genesis 44, 18 through 47 and 27, and then in the prophet section, that was Ezekiel 37, and it was 15 through 28, and so it's after the valley of dry bones, and we're getting into some things that just kind of stuck out in the bottom of that chapter was the covenant of peace, purification, David or Dawud, as the king, and this king is like a shepherd, and then the sanctuary being among the people. So the purification is unique because we just came out of the Chanukah. Those of the brethren who are conscious or who observe the word, we just got out of the festival or the feast of dedication. No, it's not written in Leviticus. It's not written in the Torah, but to erase the Most High's involvement and to erase the prophecies that were spoken in Daniel's time that happened in the time that was, 100, 150 years, give or take, before Messiah even comes on the scene. So we were talking about this last Sabbath. There was a big battle on Emmaus, but we all know in the Gospels that there was a conversation that made two young men heart burn on the road to Emmaus. So that wouldn't have been there if that hadn't happened. So the whole deal of the Chanukah is to rededicate the temple. So the people must be purified. The people must be gathered together. But it's also the people. I think my wife was talking about this off the camera about us being the temple, by us being temples and us harboring Him so that He can habitate in us. So we were so far away from a temple, making a pilgrimage feast to Jerusalem to go through the temple because His presence is there. Well, we're in a renewed covenant now. So now you are that temple. I think they asked the Messiah. They asked him, "Where is the kingdom? Where is the kingdom?" And he said, "It is within you. It is within you." So these are the things that was mentioned in Ezekiel 37 was the covenant of peace, the purification, David as a king, also as a shepherd, and the sanctuary of the Most High Himself dwelling among the people. So we look at the covenant of peace. It takes us to Numbers 25 with Phineas. If you remember Phineas or Pinchas when he slain Zimri and the Midianite woman, when he slain them, and after he had made those actions, it was the covenant of peace that was given to him. And then we also have Isaiah 9, where we have a prince of peace, or a king of peace that is coming. The government will be upon his shoulders in Isaiah 9. So we're seeing that this order of Melchizedek, where we have the righteousness of the Yahudim, the righteousness of Judah, the royalty of Judah, and then we have the holiness of the Levi or the Levites becoming one. So we have a lot of different things going on, but those really stuck out to me because everything points to Him. Everything points to the Mashiach. Fast forward into in the Gospels, it was John the 5th chapter, and in John 5, some things that really stuck out was how the Mashiach was saying that we will have to honor the Son like we honor the Father, so that we must honor Yahshua like we would honor Yah, like we have to give that same reverence, that same equal reverence to Him. And he talked about judgment would be given to the Son. So we have this picture when he's talking in John 5 of how He will receive, like a father passing some down to his son, and the Son receiving all His power and authority and riches, but not riches like money, but like riches in authority and dominion, not just earth, but the galaxies. So we kind of see that when we go back to Joseph, because Joseph was in the previous section was pulled out of a pit, and then he had given the interpretation of the dream. And the first thing that Joseph said was, hey, I'm not interpreting it, but it's the Most High God is interpreting this dream. So we have Christ speaking the same way. He said, hey, it's not my will, it's his will. So the judgment that I'm going to bring, that I'm going to execute, is my Father's will. So we see the parallel. We see the shadows. We see the shadows of the figure that is to come, that will be Christ. So we had the judgment was given to him, this power and this authority. And something I thought really stuck out was in Ezekiel 37, at 1 through 14. We're talking about the resurrection of the dead, or the valley dry bones. But in that same John 5th chapter, Christ said it will be his voice that they hear when they're in the graves, and that they're going to come up out them graves. And he says the resurrection of the good, the resurrection of the evil. Bottom line is that my voice will reign supreme, and I got it from my Father. So that really stuck out to me. He made reference of the scriptures being written of me. So you searching them thinking you have eternal life, but the scriptures is written of me. And he's saying this to teachers of the law, doctors of the law. And we have a lot of teachers and doctors, or people who say they're teachers and doctors of the law, but have not been called, or once again, or in that category of something to gain, whether it just might be status quo, might not even be money. And then he had said to him in John, in that 5th chapter, he said that if you believe Moses, then you should believe, me. You should believe me. She gonna laugh at it. It's all right. It's all right. Husband and wife thing, But if you believe Moses, then you should believe me, because he wrote of me. So when we go back to the Torah, we got to be a people, like for regular Christians. I don't mean that in offensive, but you got to be able to see your Savior, your salvation throughout the whole book, so you can kind of get an idea what to expect. Right. So I think it's Romans 15 and 4. Whatever things are written aforetime are written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures we might have hope. So that things that were written in the past is to teach us what will happen in the future. So we'll actually know. So we'll know that just like how Joseph was hidden, and then all of a sudden he was revealed, but he was revealed to the brethren first. Right. So when we get into the New Testament, we get to the Jew, then to the Gentile. Right. So will the real Yahudim please stand up? But those were just some nuggets on what we had got and what we had gathered going through that. And just want to thank everybody that have checked this out. And we look forward to collaborating together and bringing y'all fruit that is inspired by the Spirit, to feed the sheep of the Most High God. So till the next time, shalom.
Shalom.